Hello everybody, welcome back to 10 Minute Reviews. This is Freya. Say hi, Freya. Or say bye, Freya. You can just say bye. I'm Jason.
I'm Amy.
And we're bringing you today's video. And once again, we're going to do another list type video. We want to talk about 5 great, and again, we don't say greatest, we don't say the best, because for every genre out there, for every series out there, for every idea, really, there is no greatest. You know, I'm a huge fantasy fan, and I'm not going to say that J.R.R. Tolkien is the greatest. And yet, even Muhammad Ali, people do make cases for other boxers. So, in nothing is there a real way to quantify greatest. And you know what? When it comes to books, it doesn't freaking matter. All that matters is, are you entertained? Are you entertained? Do you have fun? Is it enjoyable? If it is, then who cares if it's better than this other one, better than this one, great, the greatest ever? Who gives a damn? So, we're going to just talk about great. We're not talking about greatest, best, number one, any of that BS. Eventually, we may do like our own personal rankings of some books. But so today, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. By the way, we are coming out with videos all the time. Today, we are going to talk about 5 great horror authors. 5 great horror authors, not horror authors. Those would be out in Pahrump, and those are not authors, unless they're writing the menu, or maybe they do fan fiction. Who knows? But well, then again, there are the harem genres. So, okay, there might be some horror authors out there, but we're going to talk about 5 great horror authors. And in this case, unlike a lot of our other videos, this is going to be a lot more mainstream. You know, I could mention a couple of lesser known authors. In fact, I may throw a bonus one at the end if I remember. But we're going to talk about mainstream. So the first one that springs to mind is, of course, Stephen King. Stephen King, he's probably considered the greatest modern horror author out there.
On the table in front of us, there's 4 Stephen King books.
Again, can't really say greatest, you know, because it all depends. Some people might even say Mary Shelley was the greatest because of what she did, or Bram Stoker. Different time periods, different eras, different things. In fact, Stephen King has changed his writing style over the years because the way he wrote in say the 80s or 90s is a little
fueled by cocaine
and too wordy. He's too wordy.
Mr. Adjective.
And for me, a huge Stephen King fan, I actually stopped reading him about 5-10 years ago because his books were just too wordy. They were too boring. You know, I don't need 5 pages describing the room you just entered. I don't care that much. And in modern times, people just don't have the attention span to grind through some of the wordier
30
books.
pages of sheep shearing.
Oh, yes, that by the way was Wheel of Time. But he has changed his writing style, and he's just Stephen King. I mean, there's really not much you can say about Stephen King that hasn't already been said. So we're not going to.
He's the first big author that I ever really got into.
The next author is almost as big as Stephen King and probably just as famous, Dean Koons. Dean Koons is also really a contemporary of Stephen King's. I mean, they really started writing pretty close at the same time. They both hit it big, pretty close at the same time. I'd say Stephen King does have an edge on him because more of his books have been turned into movies or TV shows. I mean, he's not quite Tom Clancy level as far as,
no.
But he's really darn close. I mean, he might actually be. A lot of Stephen King's books.
Because he has straight to made-for-TV movies or straight-to-video movies.
So, but Dean Koons has as well. Odd Thomas, a lot of fun. A lot of fun as a book series. A lot of fun as a movie. Unfortunate to have read the book first, so the plot twist is not a twist.
No, it's
it's just a plot. Yeah. At that point, it's a plot point. But Dean Koons, you got to read him. Absolutely got to read him. Number 3 is pretty close to as famous as the other 2. If you've heard of those 2 and you're a huge fan of fantasy, of horror authors, you've probably also read this author, John Saul. John Saul, and again, he's really a contemporary of the other 2. For a while, the horror genre was definitely growing, definitely getting really big. Off the top of my head, I cannot name you one of his bigger, more well-known works. It's just been probably 20 years since I read John Saul, but
Blackheart Chronicles.
There you go, the Blackheart Chronicles. Just the puppy
Guardian.
disagrees. She's whining, but but John Saul.
Brainchild.
Fantastic, fantastic, fantastic author. Number 4, Ted Dekker, who is big, but not as big as the other 3. This is one of the few times that we're actually doing a list that sort of is in either a descending or ascending order. Ted Dekker, he's definitely a big author. Don't get us wrong. He's got a ton of books out there. And he's another one that's just a fantastic horror author. So if you like horror, you gotta read Ted Dekker.
Yep. The Bride Collector.
Series or book?
Book.
The Bride Collector. And see, that's the best too. If you want to get into a new author, if you could find a one-off book instead of a series, that's the best. Absolutely the best. Number 5 would be the least known, but still a fairly big author, Graham Masterton. Masterton, yeah, Graham Masterton. I'll be honest, I have not. This is the only author on this list that I have not read any books by.
The Fifth Witch.
I've heard of him. I've read the backs of quite a few of his books. But
I know he exists.
yes, and I've seen many, many, many of his books out there. But she has read quite a few of them. And she just named off one that you could start with. It's a great one for you guys to read. So there you guys go. 5 great horror authors. We would really like it if you guys out there shot us an email or a comment, and preferably an email, actually, and list some of your favorite horror authors that we may not have heard of. We especially like indie authors. There's a lot of new indie authors coming out on Amazon that you know they don't get enough suggestions and
Enough love.
enough
Readers.
Well, they don't. Their books aren't suggested. I can't think of the frickin',
Algorithm?
Yeah. Well, they don't get enough algorithms. They don't get enough. I guess suggestions would be
Mentions?
the way to put it. So they don't get seen, and then they don't get read, and it's really hard for authors to break in on Amazon as indie authors or anywhere else. So if there's any indie authors that you guys like out there in the horror genre or any other genre, please email us. I guarantee we will check them out. Probably end up reading some of them in any genre. So please, by all means, let us know. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe buttons. And I did mention a bonus, very under the radar as far as horror authors go. There was an author back he's really big in the 80s and 90s. He mostly wrote what you would call men's adventure pulp type books or westerns. He wrote a ton of westerns. William W. Johnstone. However, he also wrote a horror series that was in modern day. It was centered around Sam, who's a former Army Ranger, and somehow just kind of gets sucked into this whole supernatural thing. I mean, you've got very crazy vampires, and it's just, that's going to be a re-trigger. It's it's weird, it's different, and it's a lot of fun. So, very much an under-the-radar horror author for you guys. Do you have an under-the-radar one for them?
I don't.
No other bonus authors. Again, hit those like and subscribe buttons. We will catch you guys next time.
I know.
I know.